Sunday, day 4. Took my first jeepney ride this morning. It was hilarious. It's very inexpensive. It's very easy, and the jeepney drivers themselves are basically independent entrepreneurs, and that makes the public transport when it comes to busing here both better and worse compared to their Western standards. The minimum wage here makes sure that there are a lot of jeepney drivers all over the place. However, many of the jeepneys are not particularly safe. And what I noticed is that some of them don't drive to the designated end stop of the specific line, because at some point they look to the contents of their bus and they see, oh, there's only one passenger left. Well, let's kick him out so that I can turn around and get more passengers. And then he hasn't driven to the end stop, and then as a passenger you have to walk to the end stop yourself. So that is on occasion how it works here. But it's very simple, it's very easy, and there are a lot around. It was a lot of them around. It was a lot of fun. And I went to the Temple of Lia, and the jeepney driver stopped before his end stop, and that's why I took a scooter taxi up until the Temple of Lia for 150 pesos. Had a chat with that fellow, nice fellow. I asked him whether me walking through Pasil Barangay at daylight was actually a safe thing to do, and he said, yeah, you can do that. Just don't walk there at night. That was basically his message. And that's basically also what I felt in that neighborhood. So it was nice to get a second opinion on that. He asked if he had to drive me back also and wait for me. I said, no, I'll be fine. And the Temple of Lia, it's a beautiful place. And it is unfortunate still to see that it requires quite some maintenance here and there. And that temple in its entirety, there's so much more potential in there. And the entry fee is way too low, 120 pesos to enter it. It should be triple that, because there's no way in the world that with 120 pesos you can maintain that place. And they didn't. They just didn't. So that entry fee is just wrong. It should be a lot higher. And when I was sitting there was a group of women. It was also fascinating. I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden there was a group of women hanging around, and I didn't really care, so I ignored them. And one of them made some kind of a selfie or something like that, and probably in the background or something, I was on that picture, and probably some of them made a joke about that or something. In any case, they were making pictures of themselves with me in the picture also, and they were making jokes and fun about it. I mean, I get it by now. You guys are attracted to white foreigners for some whatever reason, particularly ones that look like me. But in my opinion, there should be somewhat of a limit on objectifying other people. It made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I was just this far removed to literally shout in their faces, fuck off. I didn't do that, but I might at some point. Then I walked back from the temple after having a fine lunch. And I was lucky that a jeepney driver came by very early on, so I didn't have to walk that much at all. And I think he was beginning his shift or something like that, because he had no change in his, I would say cash register, but it's actually a segmented box. A wooden little box Another fascinating thing was, of course, that in all those jeepneys, there's generally a driver and someone else knowing the English language also and maintaining the cash thing. In this case, there was a driver and a boy doing the cash thing. But that boy wasn't really doing anything, that driver was doing everything. So he was driving the jeepney through urban traffic, shifting, looking at traffic, of course, and maintaining finances. What can I say? A skillful man. But apparently not skillful enough to make sure that as soon as he starts his shift, that he should have some change. Because I had to pay with 50 pesos and he couldn't change it. He had needed other passengers to be able to change it, and it's just funny. He didn't have any change. But the jeepneys are so much fun. The day before yesterday, I also saw a boy literally fell off a jeepney. And that goes to say that it's not entirely safe. But it was so much fun. Later in the city, I went to a cemetery. Because I earlier saw that the churches are so particularly well maintained. So I figured, what does a cemetery look like? And there were people hanging around the entrance of the cemetery. I don't specifically know why. I do know as soon as I entered the cemetery, people started chatting me up, and they immediately pointed me into the direction of a few graves of Americans. And those graves were about 100 years old, and they were, considering the poor state of the cemetery, fairly well maintained. Remarkably well, considering that they were 100 years old. There is something about the Philippines, it has a deep love for everything foreign and particularly American. Was really interesting to notice that surfacing also in a cemetery. And then there was a theme. There was a theme. When people die here, they get a memorial, cove, so to speak. And I think that when you rent a place like that, you rent it for 4 years. Because all the memorial plates were not older than 4 years, and I also saw a lot of waste memorial plaques, and they were all a bit older. My gut feeling is that as soon as somebody dies, it's considered a financial emergency within the family, so they all chip in for a fine farewell ceremony. And someone gets a fairly large memorial and a fine place in the cemetery. And then after 4 years, rent must be extended, and then nobody really cares. It's not urgent enough anymore. And then memorial plaque is being removed. And then another comes in, and it isn't destroyed, that plaque, it just litters the cemetery. And there were older ones, the smaller ones, so apparently there are also wise families that decide to go for a smaller memorial cove that actually remains as a memorial. In any case, it really made me feel that this culture, the families within this culture, go from somewhat every emergency to somewhat every emergency to somewhat every emergency until they die. And that it's not that I know this, but it seems it's just a feeling. Later on, I went to the mall. I need some stuff. And I noticed a theme there also with the people working. They generally know what they sell, and they are generally willing to help you. But as soon as they know that they can't help you, they are less than useless. They just want to get rid of you. They just send you someplace, and after that they're not really helpful. In Holland, it's actually split. When you talk to personnel, two things can happen. Either they don't know what they're selling at all and they are utterly incompetent, or they are so excessively incompetent that they not only know what they sell, but even if they can't help you, they know where you should go in order to get help. And that, particularly that breed of skillfulness, is dying in Europe. And here in the Philippines, you see quite a lot of fairly skillful people, but as soon as they can't help you, they very quickly turn into less than useless. I went to a restaurant which was a mistake this time. Food was nice, but the menu was unclear to me. I have to learn how to read those menus. And they gave me not a small cup of soup, but more like a bucket of soup it was for more than one person. And well, it was tasty, but it was the staff was not particularly useful or helpful. And I went to a 7-Eleven to buy some things because the Filipino portions for food are a bit small for me. Which makes sense because I carry about 1.3 more times as much body size as they do. So, and my body size needs to be maintained, so I eat more. It's a simple thing. The meals here are small for me. And I went to a 7-Eleven to get some extra snacking for this evening. So I walked into the 7-Eleven, and then when I walked in there, I saw, wait, that's funny. All right, so this is a 7-Eleven, but also a pharmacy. Yeah, of course. That makes perfect sense. This place, man, these people are so free that it's not uncommon to see things that are actually quite ridiculous. Well, that's about it for this day. I saw another interesting thing, and that was a stray cat. There are many stray animals, stray dogs, stray cats. But I saw a stray cat that was running around with, I kid you not, an open wound. It was nasty to see. And sometimes you see animals suffering on the street, and I also saw a dead cat, like in the center of Cebu, just all swollen up, just lying there. And well, it takes some time apparently for someone from some local governmental department to clean it up. Fascinating adventure, all in all. Absolutely fascinating. Until tomorrow.